Chapter 8. Wind, Storms, and Cyclones. Lesson Preview. Properties of Air. Generation of wind currents. Thunderstorms. Cyclones. Safety measures during a cyclone. Tornado. Air, as we know, is colorless. It is all around us. We cannot see it. Wind is the movement of air in the atmosphere. When there is a strong wind, or cyclone or heavy rains, it can throw life out of gear. You must have heard about cyclones in Odisha. They cause a lot of destruction to life and property, rendering several people homeless. Cyclones affect agriculture, transport, communication, and electrical supply. Let us first discuss some of the properties of air which are responsible for the formation of cyclones, tornadoes, etc. Properties of air. Air exerts pressure. Activity. Take an empty juice can with a lid. Fill it approximately half with water. Heat it till the water starts boiling. Continue heating for some more time. Close the lid. Allow it to cool under tap water in a sink or keep it in a shallow basin, and pour cold water over it. What do you observe? You will notice that the can gets deformed. Why does this happen? This is because when the can is heated, steam is produced which drives out the air from the container. When cool tap water is poured over the can, some steam in the can condenses into water and this reduces the amount of air inside. The air from outside exerts more pressure than that exerted from inside the can. As a result, the can is deformed. You must have noticed that when you ride a motorbike against the direction of wind, you have to use extra energy to ride. You must have also felt the pressure of air on your face when riding on the motorbike. You must have also seen it is easier to row a boat in the direction of wind or to fly a kite with the wind coming from the back. This is all because air exerts pressure. Have you seen bicycle or car tires being filled with air? The air filled helps to maintain the shape of the tire. The amount of air filled depends on the load to be carried by the vehicle. The air inside the tire exerts pressure against the load and supports it. The tire may burst if you overfill it with air. It is due to air pressure that clothes sway, leaves of trees and flags flutter when wind blows. High-speed winds are accompanied by reduced air pressure. Activity. Take a wide-mouthed bottle. Crumble a piece of paper to form a ball. The ball should be smaller than the mouth of the bottle. Hold the bottle horizontally as shown in the figure. Place the paper ball just inside the mouth of the bottle. Are you able to do so? See whether your friends are able to do so. When you blow air inside the bottle, the air near the mouth of the bottle gains speed, thus developing low pressure in this area. The pressure is higher inside the bottle. The higher pressure of air inside the bottle pushes the ball out. Activity. Pressure reduces when air moves with high speed. Take two identical balloons. Fill them with a little water and the rest with air. Tie them up with a string. Hang the two balloons on a stick or a rod about 10 cm apart. Now blow hard in the space between the two balloons. What do you observe? The balloons move closer to each other rather than away from each other. This is because when you blow air between the two balloons, the increased air speed reduces the air pressure between the two balloons. Thus, the higher air pressure in the areas on either sides of the two balloons pushes the balloons towards each other. Activity. Take a strip of paper, 20 times 3 cm. Hold it between your thumb and forefinger as shown in the figure. Now blow hard over the paper strip. What do you see? Were you surprised to see that paper strip rises upwards? This happens because when you blow above the paper strip, the pressure above the strip reduces. The higher pressure of air below the strip pushes it upwards. Moving air provides a lift. All the above activities indicate that increased wind speed is accompanied by reduced air pressure. You must have heard or seen roofs of buildings being blown away by high-speed winds. This can happen if the roofs are weakly attached to the buildings. Strong wind reduces the air pressure above the roof, causing it to be blown away. We have thus seen that air moves from the region of high air pressure to the region having low air pressure. Moving air is called wind. The greater the difference in pressure, the faster is the movement of air or greater is the wind speed. We shall now study how pressure difference is created in nature. Air expands on heating. Activity. Take a test tube. Stretch a balloon tightly over the mouth of the test tube. Secure with an adhesive tape. Take some hot water in a beaker. Place the test tube in this beaker. What do you observe? Now take out the test tube from the hot water beaker. Let it cool down to room temperature. Now place the test tube in a beaker containing ice-cold water. Do you observe any change in the shape of the balloon after some time? Has the balloon deflated? This is because when the test tube is placed in hot water, the air in the test tube expands and inflates the balloon. On cooling, the air inside the test tube contracts and the balloon gets deflated. Normal water, hot water, cold water. Activity. To demonstrate that warm air is lighter than cold air, take 2 paper bags of the same size. Hang them in an inverted position on the opposite ends of a stick. Tie a piece of thread in the middle of the stick. Hang the stick with the help of the thread as in a balance scale. Place a burning candle below one of the bags as shown in the figure. Observe what happens. You will notice that the bag under which the candle is placed moves up. This is because the burning candle heats up the air surrounding it. The warm air rises up, pushing the bag above the candle. This suggests that warm air is lighter than cold air. Air on heating expands and occupies more space. When the same amount of thing occupies more space, it becomes lighter. This is the reason why smoke goes up. The warm air being lighter rises up. The cold air from the surroundings rushes in to take its place, resulting in the formation of convection currents. Generation of wind currents. Wind currents are generated due to uneven heating of the Earth's surface between the equator and the poles. The equatorial region has sun shining directly above it. It receives the greatest amount of heat from the sun. The air in this region gets heated and rises up. The cooler air from the surrounding regions in the 0 to 30 degrees latitude belt on either side of the equator moves in. These winds blow from the north and south towards the equator. The air in the polar region is colder than that at latitudes about 60 degrees. The warm air in these latitudes moves up and the colder air from the poles rushes in to take its place. Such movements of air from warmer to the colder regions and from the colder to the warmer regions give rise to air currents. The flow of wind is not exactly north to south or from south to north. A change in direction is caused by the rotation of the Earth around its own axis. The winds in the northern hemisphere swerve to the right while winds in the southern hemisphere swerve to the left. Subpolar low. Subtropical high. ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone. Subtropical high. Subpolar low. Uneven heating of land and water. We have already studied about land breeze and sea breeze. During summer, the land near the equator warms up faster than the water in the ocean. The air over the land gets heated and rises up. This causes the winds from the ocean to flow towards the land. These winds come to India from the southwest direction, and as they come from the ocean, they contain moisture and bring rain. These are monsoon winds. In winters, the direction reverses and winds blow from the land to the ocean. Hence, they carry little moisture and cause light rainfall in winter. Rain brings relief in hot regions and helps in agriculture. Excessive rains, however, bring a lot of problems. They result in floods causing a lot of damage. Let us study about some natural effects of wind. Thunderstorms. Thunderstorms develop in hot and humid tropical regions as in India, quite frequently. The warm air carrying moisture rises up due to rising temperature. At higher altitudes, the moisture rapidly condenses into water droplets which may fall as rain or freeze and fall as hail. The rapid movement of the falling water droplets and ice crystals causes collision between themselves due to the rising warm air. These collisions produce static electricity and the clouds get charged. Huge sparks are produced between clouds or between a cloud and the ground. These sparks are lightning. The lightning heats up the air in its path so quickly that a booming sound is produced. This is the thunder we hear when we see lightning. These events together are called thunderstorm. Safety precautions during a thunderstorm. Do not take shelter under an isolated tree. If in a forest, do not lie down. Take shelter under a small tree. Do not use an umbrella having a metallic handle. Do not sit near an open window. Do not sit under a metal roof shed. If you are in a pool, get out and take shelter in a building. The best place is to stay indoors with all the doors and windows shut. If in a car or bus, close the windows and stay inside. Cyclones. Cyclones are a worldwide phenomenon. A cyclone is a violent storm usually accompanied by strong spiraling winds, heavy rainfall, and tidal waves. It has high-speed winds swirling around a low-pressure center called the eye of the storm. The high-speed winds revolve in an anti-clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere and in a clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. The moist air over the seas and oceans gets heated up by sun rays. The warm air carrying moisture rises up. This creates a low-pressure area. The warm air condenses as it rises up to form clouds. The heat released due to condensation of water vapor warms the air around. The air tends to rise further and causes a drop in pressure. More air rushes to the center of the storm. However, instead of rushing straight towards the center of the storm, the air circles around it in a spiral. This happens due to spinning of Earth which pushes the air to one side. This cycle is repeated, resulting in a system of low-pressure region with high-speed winds revolving around it. The swirling winds rotate faster and faster, forming a huge circle that can be up to 200 kilometers across. This weather condition is referred to as cyclone. Eye of the cyclone. Wind speed, wind direction, temperature, and humidity contribute to the development of cyclones. The eye of a cyclone can have a diameter of 10 to 30 kilometers. It lies in the center of the storm. A large cyclone is a 10 to 15 kilometers high violently rotating mass of air in the atmosphere. The eye has only light winds. It is calm here. The eye is surrounded by a cloud region about 150 kilometers in size. In this region, there are thick clouds, heavy rains, and high-speed winds. Destruction caused by cyclones. Cyclonic winds travel at very high speed. They push water to the shore even when the storm is hundreds of kilometers away. This is the first indication of an approaching cyclone. Cyclones produce tidal waves, as high as 3 to 12 meters, which appear like a waterfall moving towards the shore. This causes seawater to flood the low-lying coastal areas, causing great loss of life and property. The situation is further worsened due to the heavy rain which accompanies a cyclone. Salt water that floods coastal areas reduces the fertility of the soil. High-speed winds of a cyclone can damage buildings, trees, and communication systems, causing tremendous loss of life and property. Cyclones become weaker as they move over land due to friction and lack of moisture. The eastern coastline of India in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh is very vulnerable to cyclones. Thickly forested coastal areas act as natural barriers which reduce the impact of the cyclone. Safety measures during a cyclone. To be taken by the government. The government needs to take the following safety measures against cyclones. Installation of cyclone forecast and warning system. Arrangement of rapid communication of the warning to ports, fishermen, ships, and general public. Construction of cyclone shelters in areas prone to cyclone. Administrative arrangements to move people to safer places at the time of need, especially those living in low-lying areas and near the coastline. To be taken by the public. We should not ignore the warnings issued by the meteorological department through TV, radio, or newspapers. People living in cyclone-prone areas should keep good quality torchlights, battery-operated radios, and spare batteries handy. Phone numbers of all emergency services like hospital, fire brigade, and police should be kept handy. We should make suitable arrangement to shift necessary household goods, domestic animals, and vehicles to safer places. We should not drive on roads which are underwater, as floods may have damaged the roads. Safety precautions in a cyclone-hit area. Do not drink water that could be contaminated. Store enough food and water for family members. Emergency medicines must be kept at home. Do not touch wet switches or electric wires. Help your friends and neighbors and cooperate with them. In case you have to leave home, remember to turn off the gas, electricity and water supply. Cooperate with the rescue forces. As soon as the cyclone warning is sounded, secure your house and move to safer places. Do not venture into the sea. Avoid flood water. Cyclone forecast and warning system. These days, due to better technology, we are better protected from cyclones than earlier days. Now meteorologists are able to predict storms and cyclones on the basis of pictures taken by weather satellites like the INSAT series. Satellites and cyclone detection radars, CDRs. They can locate a cyclone within a range of 400 kilometers. In case of a developing cyclone, a cyclone alert or cyclone watch is issued 48 hours in advance of the expected storm. A cyclone warning is issued 24 hours in advance. This is done as Disaster Warning System, DWS, to cover seaports, fishermen, aviation department, etc. This message is broadcast every half an hour to create awareness among the people when a cyclone approaches the coast. Tornado. A tornado is dark funnel-shaped circling winds which rotate rapidly and reach the ground from the sky. Tornadoes may form within cyclones. Most of the tornadoes are weak. They are not very frequent in India. The wind speed in tornadoes in extreme cases can reach from 300 to 500 km/h. The diameter of a tornado shows a wide variation. It can be 1 meter small or as large as 1 kilometer wide or more. The funnel of a tornado sucks up anything on its path including buildings, trees, cars, etc. and throws it out near the top. A tornado is formed when a funnel-like column of cold air sinks down from a storm cloud. Warm air from the Earth's surface rises up, whirls around it, and causes very high-speed winds. During a tornado, shut the doors and windows and take shelter under a table or a workbench so that debris cannot reach you. Bow down on knees protecting your head and neck. A tornado shelter is a room situated deep inside or underground having no windows. Tornadoes are not common in India. The east coast of India is more vulnerable to storms than the west coast.